welcome to The Photography Guy. I'm your host, The Photography Guy. Let's get started here with another great photo show. Hey, yes, welcome back once again to The Photography Guy. I am The Photography Guy, and this is The Photography Guy show number. If I had to write show notes up here, we would be able to go this way. There we go. This is episode number 36 for Sunday, November the 17th. And this happens to be 2013. Hey, good morning to everybody out there, and welcome to the show. I'm just working, as you can see here, with a different microphone today. I have my lapel microphone on because we're doing a live photo shoot. Yes, wait, what did he say? A live photo shoot. Yeah, so today I wanted to show you a little bit of tips and tricks here with the camera. We're going to do some capturing. I'm going to show you some gear that we're going to be using, and we're going to get this all recorded here and set up here so we can have this for YouTube so you guys can watch the reruns later also. So today, that's exactly what we're going to be doing. But first of all, I want to thank you for joining me here to learn more about your camera and making great photographs. Please check out my website, thephotographyguy.net, and sign up for the free white paper. It's 7 tips to better photography. If you've not yet done that, please go ahead and check that out. If you're listening to the audio podcast, please go to my YouTube channel. That is 4 the number 2, Techno Man, where you can see the reruns and see this great video coverage here that we're going to have today with the live shoot. And I'll try to walk you through it, so if you're listening to the audio, don't say, oh, live shoot, people can't explain this. I'm going to try to explain each part of this to you so you can listen. I know on your way to work you like to pick this audio podcast up, so by all means, I will be there for you. If you have any questions later on down the road, you're like, man, I'd like to ask Jack this question, and I got to really call that in. Please call my voicemail number at 724-701-0911, or you can simply Skype Jack's Tech Corner. Please follow me on Twitter, and that is at TechnoMan, TechnoMan, TechnoMan. So, first of all, as I said today, in this show, I thought we would be looking at doing a live shoot, and I put this together this morning. I played around a little bit with it because, you know, when you're live, you want everything to work out right. And I did have one issue already with one of my cameras going down, but I think I got it set back up. We're going to be working with a tethering today into Lightroom, and we'll talk a little bit about that and how that works. I'm going to show you my camera and the cable that I use. But first, let me tell you about this winner. I know everybody's anxious out there saying, oh, did I win those wireless triggers? We had a ton of people sign up. I'd like to very much thank you for coming over to be a VIP member at the wow, can't think this morning. For coming over to be a VIP member at thephotographyguy.net. I know right now you're enjoying great video content. I put new video content up there all the time. So we're constantly updating that site, and you're constantly learning more and more. What's nice about it is there's no commercials. Do you ever get tired of YouTube? Every time you're watching something, whoop, there comes a commercial. Well, on these videos, when you become a very important photographer, a VIP, you do not get any of those commercials. And I don't throw ads in there saying, hey, please buy something. You are a member. The videos are there. They're live, and they're for you. So the winner of this great contest with the free wireless flash triggers is Kenneth Baxter. That's Kenneth Baxter. Thanks, Kenneth, for signing up to become a VIP member. And your emails also have been very nice. I've been getting a lot of emails from folks out there saying, Jack, this is a great way to learn. You know, I've paid some of the other companies, you know, some of the so-called photography training companies, and next thing you know, they're teaching you about business and marketing. They're teaching you about how to cook dinners. They're teaching you about how to give a massage. Just like, really, this is a photography show. You learn photography here and nothing else. So, Kenneth, thank you very much, and thanks for the great emails and great responses you've been sending me. I appreciate that. So, we're going to get started here on this live shoot. The first thing, since I'm sitting here, before I stand up, I'm going to tell you about the camera. The camera we're using this morning is my D600. As soon as I shut this menu system back off. The D600, we will be shooting on manual mode today. And we're going to be shooting the D600 with my 50mm fixed lens, because I wanted to show you the power of 50mm lens. And Very, very inexpensive. It's $149, so it doesn't really cost anything. And it's just a really, really nice lens. So right now, I have to try to get my cat out of my room because he's in here trying to move around. So we're going to try to do that real quick and get him out of here. And get him to go downstairs because he will start interfering with the shoot here, with the live shoot. So, and as I said today, we are actually tethered in. We're tethered with a cable here. Now this cable came from a place called Monoprice. That's MONPRICE.com. And these cables are very, very inexpensive, and they work very, very well. So once again, that's Monoprice.com. And you don't have to go out. A lot of people go out and they buy these cables, and they want to get these cables for all this tons of money. And you don't really need to do that because cabling is really inexpensive. And the cable I bought here is a 15-foot cable. It's a USB to a micro USB connector on here. So, and it works very, very well. So you don't have to go out and spend a ton of money. All right, now we're going to go back into the studio and we're going to take a look at some of this equipment. All right. Let me just switch a camera over here. We're going to minimize this. Close this. And okay, so now we're into the studio over here. Hopefully the audio is going to hold up for us. The lapel microphone I'm wearing today is not a real expensive microphone. You know, doing this stuff for free basically is we can't afford to always put a ton of money into our gear with wireless mics. So this is a wired mic. Okay, so I looked at this before and I thought, well, this looks pretty good, and I guess you can hear me okay. The audio looks like it's spiking okay on the recording. So today this is what we're going to be working with and taking a picture of is we're going to be using this setup. I have my reflector set on the back, on the black, and we're going to be using it as a backdrop. So this is just a reflector. Makes a great backdrop. Some of you might have seen before where I've used it to take pictures of my wife when she actually modeled up here, and it makes a really, really nice backdrop. The next thing I told you we're going to be teaching you about today, if you looked at the Facebook group, is foam core. And foam core is just this white core board. It's pretty versatile. I use it a lot of times for a reflector underneath the chin for beauty lighting, to do some bounce lighting. Today we're going to use it. We can use it over on a side to use reflective or bounce lighting to bring light back onto the side of the plant if we bring our strobe light across this way. We're going to be talking about that very shortly. I also have another piece of foam core board that the plant is sitting on to give it some reflective ability. So you want some kind of reflective surface so we can reflect some light back up into it if we wish to do that. And I think we will do that. We're going to try some different shooting techniques here and see how this goes today. We are actually, the microphone seems like it's peaking a lot right there. And we're going to turn it down just a little bit. And we'll try to go right about there to see how that actually works for us. So hopefully you're not getting too much of this fan noise. It's a little hot in the studio today, and all the air conditioning's been shut off already, so we'll have to deal with that. Okay. What we're going with next here is, these are our light stands. Now this happens to be the Westcott stands. I picked these stands up actually, if you can see this stand here. It's a Westcott. These stands came with my Octabox and my square softbox that I purchased from Westcott. And that's the Apollo softboxes. So I got the Octabox and I got the 36-inch, I believe it is, square box. But today we're going to keep it very simple, folks, because I want to show you can do this stuff without spending a lot of money. That's what my shows have been about for a long time, is not spending a ton of money. And these I purchased basically to do senior portraits with on location, is why I bought these soft boxes. But today we're just going to use an umbrella because it's really inexpensive. The light stands, again, you could pick a light stand up on Amazon for about $15 to $20. A pretty good stable light stand. On the top of this thing we have a flash bracket, and what the flash bracket is for is to obviously hold your flash. It also allows us, it has a hole here to put the umbrella in, so we can either shoot through or shoot into the umbrella, and that's what the flash bracket allows us to do. This flash bracket actually came with the Westcott Apollo softbox, so it all came as a unit, but you can buy them on their own. And here is one I purchased right here. I buy a lot of these, and the reason is, if something happens to one of these things, I toss it aside and I just take another one out of the bag. Because you know what, they're so inexpensive. These cost about 10 bucks. On Amazon you'll find them, and they all work the same. So the flash bracket, I tend to like to get the ones with the metal, but this one has the plastic knobs here and on the back, and it works very, very well. So the flash bracket, if you've never used one, because for years I'd watch people's videos and I'd say, man, I wish they'd show me how to, because we all assume that you know how to do it, but you probably don't because you've never had one. So the flash bracket itself, if we loosen this clamp up, no, not this one, we'll tighten that up. We'll loosen this clamp on the back. The flash bracket itself has a hole on the bottom, if you can see that hole. And what it does, it allows us to put this on to the light stand itself. And that's all it does. It sits on the light stand. And then there's a wing nut on the back of these things. They just tighten down, just snug it down. You don't have to crimp it. You don't have to get pliers and put any pressure because you'll break them. Just crimp it. It's very tight. It's sturdy. Your flash isn't going to go anywhere. All right. So you want to tighten it down on top of the stand. The next thing we're going to talk about is, as we gave away this weekend, and that big giveaway that some of you missed, but so many of you were in, and is the wireless flash triggers. Wireless flash triggers are sensational because it allows us to get that speed light off that camera and get it moved around. We can move this speed light then anywhere we want, and we can trigger it with a wireless trigger. That's why you want a wireless flash trigger system. As Kenneth is soon going to find out that he is going to get this new wireless trigger, not this particular one, but the new one that I'm shipping to him, and so he's going to be very, very happy with that. These things are very, very sturdy. They're very reliable. But don't buy a really, really cheap set of flash triggers. If you do, they're very unreliable. And I know I was doing a senior shoot one time using very cheap flash triggers, and about every third time the flash fired. And what happens when you do this is you get into that situation where the client gets really upset, right? They're there for you to do a job. Imagine if you take your car out to get the mechanic to work on, changing your oil, and you see him trying to take the oil filter off with a big pipe wrench or something because he's too cheap to buy the proper tool. Same with photographers. If you're saying you're a pro photographer, you better have pro grade equipment, and that's a big thing. You don't want to use cheap grade equipment. You want to use something that's good and reliable. And these triggers here, these are the Impact Power Sync triggers, and I love these. These are $150 for this little set, but they work, Now, but compare that to the Pocket Wizards. Pocket Wizards $200 each, which I'm looking at because they allow us to do some other flash type photography. But anyway, we are going to move on here. So this just tightens into the cold shoe, and a cold shoe is just that. I'm going to take this out of here to show you this because I don't want to assume that you know this, because you may not. You might be watching the show saying, Jack, I don't know any of this. This is a cold shoe. The reason is there's no contacts in there at all. There's no contacts in that shoe at all. So this is called a cold shoe. And it goes right into our flash trigger right here, and it just tightens down just like so. And now it's really snug on there. This one goes on top of the camera. That's what this one is for. So I usually take this one and I put it in my pocket just like so. Hopefully all the channels never got moved. Now we're going to talk about using my speed light. This is my Nikon speed light. This is my SB600. A lot of you've seen this over and over and over. I've used this many, many times in the shows, and I truly enjoy using the Nikon speed light. But I also have the Young Nuo speed lights, which I truly believe in. They are very positive. They work great. And I use those for secondary, third, fourth, fifth flashes out there. You know, when you're setting up a big flash scene, I use a lot of the Young Nuo flashes, and they work well as slaves. There's also a Young Nuo flash trigger set that is remarkable. Everybody has said they are great, 100% reliability. I haven't purchased this set yet, but I am looking into the Young Nuo flash triggers just to try them out. So your flash then just hooks on to your flash trigger, your wireless trigger, and it'll lock in. So there we go. We have that set up just like that. Now hopefully you can see it okay. Yep, okay. I'm just double checking my video as I'm going here. So that is the way the triggers are set up, and that's the way they look. So we showed you the light stand, the flash holder there, and we showed you the flash bracket. We showed you the wireless trigger, and that we're going to show you how that works in a second. And then we showed you our flash unit. The speed light is all it is a speed light. And folks, there's many people out there that will tell you, well, the speed light's the inexpensive way to go. And it is. If you buy a Young Nuo flash as your primary flash, it's going to work and be perfectly fine for you. Don't worry. I use it a lot of times as a primary. It works good. If you can afford a flash, buy your manufacturer, buy at least one. So if you have a Canon, buy yourself a Canon flash. If you have a Nikon system, buy yourself a Nikon flash. The reason I say this is because they use a creative lighting system, and we'll get into that one of these shows and talk about creative lighting systems and how that works. So this is the setup. Now we're going to talk about our light modifier, because everything needs a modifier in it. I think that's really crucial, and we are going to be modifying. After I take a swig of coffee, this is our light modifier for the day, is an umbrella. Why did I choose the umbrella? Because I teach you to shoot cheap. I don't teach you to shoot inexperiencedly or pro or less pro-like, but to shoot cheap. This is our umbrella. Now, you could either shoot through the umbrella, is which we're going to do today, because we want the light to be softened and we want the light to be low, okay? If you shoot into the umbrella this way, what you're going to get if you shoot into the umbrella is you're going to get a big spill of light. It's going to be all over the place. So we're going to shoot through the umbrella, and we're going to put that in our umbrella bracket right here. You can now see all this is fitting together. Loosen the screw up here so we can get it in here. And we'll just pull it right about there. Tighten that down. And if it doesn't look right the first way, we're going to try to turn this around a little bit and see if this is going to be better the other way. So we can just spin this. No, actually, I'd rather spin the whole thing. We'll spin it this way. What we're looking for actually is the angle. I'm looking for a better angle because this thing will have a couple angles on you. And we'll put it through this way and see if it angles better. And that looks better. And what I'm looking for here is, tighten that down a little bit. Right here, if you can see this, what we're looking for here is a better angle of the flash head into the umbrella, somewhere in the center. But it's going to light that whole umbrella up. So it's going to work very, very well. All right. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set our flash up. We're going to point it at our subject. And we're going to just point this light down a little bit. At our subject right there. I'm going to be shooting on a flash power of 1/8. 1/8 is what I'm shooting on. 1/8 power. You don't need a ton of power when you're shooting like this. And we are going to use our handy dandy light meter to get a reading here real quick. So now we're going to turn our flash trigger on. I usually wait until I'm getting ready to shoot, and the reason I do that is, naturally, I don't want to use up the battery power. That's why I do that. I test my trigger by holding my button in. You can see the light did flash. Let's test it again to see if we can see that. All right, so we are getting a flash there. The light is very much working well for us. We are going to be shooting. I'm going to set my light meter now. Let's go to mode. We'll go back to flash. And we're going to be shooting a ISO of, we're going to start with 400. And we're going to take a reading here. See if we can't get a reading. I'm going to try to shoot this at a speed of 200, a shutter speed of 200. Because you see I have an overhead light on so you can see me and what I'm doing. So, but I want to knock that overhead light out with the camera and just get the flash onto the object here. And that really messed with me at first, because I'm thinking, how can we do that? How can we have ambient light and knock that ambient light out and still only get the flash on there? That doesn't make much sense. But the truth of it is, folks, is what you're doing is the shutter speed controls the ambient light. So if you get the shutter speed high enough, the ambient light will disappear. You can even do this outdoors, and we shoot outdoors. That's what the whole idea is with the flash. There was one time we took a flash with us and we were shooting somewhere, and my wife said, well, why would we need a flash? It's daylight. I took the first couple shots and I showed her on the back of the camera, and she said, I get it. I get it. Because we can control the sunlight just by using shutter speed. We can control the amount of flash power by your f-stop, right? Your aperture. All right, let's take a reading here and see what we get. All right, so we're getting an f16 at the 200 and an ISO of 400. So now we're going to switch over here. We're going to try to bring this screen up, this camera, and I don't think that's going to help us much there to do that. So I'll turn that back on, just so you always know who you're watching here. I'm just seeing now if there's any questions in the chat room coming in. Let's see here real quick. Trying to look here and see if there's any. Let's see, change your region. Just operating two screens here at one time, folks, so deal with me. Bear with me, I should say, not deal with me. Bear with me, please. All right. Let's see here. Okay, no fan noise. Thanks, Brian, very much. Hello in the UK. And hello to MC. All right. So we have our camera. We're getting ready to shoot here. We're going to take our cover off. These things are hard to find if you lose them. The little covers that go on top of your flash unit. We're going to put our flash trigger on. We're going to set our camera up here. And the camera should be set to, I said, shutter speed of 200. And we're shooting at f16. F16. And an ISO of 400. All right. Let's take a test shot here and see what we get. You'll see the test shot come up on your screens. And being I have cables all over the place here, we'll take a test shot and see what we get. Let's put the cap in my pocket. Okay, now if everything worked out right and everything went fine with this little talk, we should see that we have no ambient light. And we should very much see that we have that plant with just the light coming from the flash. That is only the flash unit coming on there. That's what you're seeing. So it's a very pleasing picture already. And all we did was set up our umbrella with 1/8 power, so it's really low power flash. And we're just giving a little burst of light onto that plant. And it turned out really, really well. I'm pretty impressed with that shot already. Now let me show you how we can control the amount of light by simply using, I'm going to turn my light meter off. I hate to buy those batteries for those things. How we can simply control the amount of light by using the f-stop. I'm going to brighten that picture up. I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to change the power setting on the flash. We're not going to change the distance of the light. We're not going to change any of that. The only thing we're going to change is we are going to change our aperture setting. And I am now going to take it to f11. What's going to happen is you're going to notice that plant will be brighter because we're going to be getting a wider aperture setting, so we're allowing more light into the sensor. Let's go ahead and shoot that and see what we get. All right, so this is f11. Now you can see that f11, sure enough, there's a lot more light coming on that plant. I didn't do anything different. All I did was went from f16 to f11. Very simply a way to control your flashes without having to go. So many times, folks, I see people in these studios, like you go to Walmart, Kinko's, or wherever they have these finer photography studios. A lot of those are like stock boys and stuff that, you know, used to work in the store and they got promoted. But their picture's too dark. They're over, oh, we got to turn the flash unit up. And they're adjusting their power. You don't need to do that. A true photographer would just work with their aperture and not worry about anything else. So it's so easy to do. Now let's go, we're going to go on the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's darken it down. So I'm going to take my aperture to f18. So 2 stops up from f16. Let's take a look at that and see where we're going to be at here. Let's take a picture here. And again, I didn't touch the power or anything. We just took a simple picture. And you can see, look how we darkened it down. Again, just by simply changing the aperture. Aperture controls the amount of flash we're allowing in. And remember, the shutter speed controls the ambient light. This light's still on in this room right here. See right here? You can't see where I'm pointing, but I'm directly under this big light, a room light. It's not interfering with my picture at all. At all. And some guys will tell you, well, we don't want to contaminate our shot with any other light. And they'll turn off every light in the room. What happens is the camera has a really hard time focusing. Now I know you're saying, Jack, no, wait. It has a focus assist light, which it does. But I found times where it has a hard time trying to focus. All right. What we're going to do now is we're going to go back to f16, and I'm going to show you the foam core board and how it's going to help us. So we have one light. Folks, for years I can only afford one light. I only had one light to use. I mean, and over time, you make a little bit of money with being out there in your profession, and you buy some new gear. But I could only afford one light, so I had to figure out ways to bounce light around. Let's take this shot again on f16. That's what the light meter told us to use, so let's take this shot again. Again, very, very pretty shot. Very nice. Came out nice. Really nice lighting. All right. And thanks, Freshwater in the chat room says, watch out the fan doesn't catch the umbrella. That was good because I wasn't looking at that actually. And you're very much right. So thanks you, because that's happened before on the shoots. We were doing a car shoot one day and we had this big umbrella. I think I have a 34-inch umbrella we had opened up, and the wind took it and my strobe light went with it. So luckily nothing broke. All right. Let's go ahead now and set up our foam core board. And we have another light stand. Now, I don't always have people to help me do shoots. So I tend to use a lot of stuff like this. Light stands, and I'm just trying to see if you can see me okay. I'll stand back here a little bit so you can maybe see me better. But I don't always have people to help me, so I need light stands to hold my gear in place. I have a light stand in the back holding my backdrop. I have this light stand holding the umbrella and my flash. And I'm going to have a light stand holding my foam core board. And what we're going to do now, folks, is we're going to bounce some light because we can only afford one flash. So that's all we have. But, we could afford just a couple light stands because they're pretty cheap. And we asked, for Santa Claus to bring us another. We asked for Santa Claus to bring us another light stand. So we're going to lift this light stand up here. I don't know if you can see or not. I get it real close to the other foam core board. And what I want to do here is I want to make basically a box with my foam cord. So I'll put this one right inside, kind of like this. And that's how I do it. I make just a little box for my actual object to sit in. And now this strobe light, this umbrella, will bounce off of there and reflect back onto the other side. And we should get the opposite side of that picture lit up. If everything works right, and if the photo gods are looking down on me today, this will work out really well. And you'll see a really nice difference on that other side. Okay. So there we go. So now you see how that light is shining on the other side of that plant and coming back. I don't have another strobe over there. We just have the foam core board. And now you're saying, well, Jack, that's pretty nice, but it'd probably be even nicer if it was a little bit more lit up on the other side. So what would we do? So right, the laws of photography would tell us that we would change our aperture setting because we're not going to mess with our flash unit. We're not going to add any more foam core. I don't have any more units, flash units. So we're going to open this up. We're going to try F14 first and see where it's at. That's one stop. And then we'll go F13. That's two stops. Let's take a look at this. Right there. And we're going to see what that did for us. You can already see how it lit it up even more. There's more light coming around that. So you may be saying, well, yeah, Jack, but what about the black on the back? I wanted the black backdrop. That's what I wanted. I didn't want to light that up anymore. And we're going to go F13 just to take a peek and see what this looks like for you. There we go. And there you are. You can see now it's well lit all the way around. The only thing I don't like about that shot is I would probably move the flower up away from the backdrop because I'm getting some spill from the light now on the black. I really don't like that too much. But you can Photoshop that out pretty easily. And we might even do that next weekend to show you how to clean some of these pictures up. But that is a pretty well lit shot. And again, all that light is coming just from this very simple strobe unit here. So it's very, very easy to do and a very nice way to get a really good picture. Now, the other way you can shoot this, I'm going to show you one other way you can shoot this since we have some time here. If you don't have another piece of foam core board, you have nobody to hold it, we only have one light, well, we want to light up that whole entire flower. There's really two ways. I'm going to show you two different setups so we can light up that whole flower. And if you don't have a light meter, don't let that bother you. That's okay. Because you don't need to have a light meter. I have one, so I use it. Right? It makes it easier on me to use the light. For years, I didn't have a light meter. And I would shoot, and I would look. I would shoot. It's called chimping. I'd shoot, I would look at the back, say, okay, we'll make some adjustments. You know, most of the time, if you start at ISO 400, start your shutter speed off at 125 at start off like F11 to F15. If you start in that ballpark, you're going to start getting some nice pictures and then work your way up from there. So, all right, so let's say we didn't have the foam core board. Whoops. Let's say we flip the flower on the floor here, right? So we didn't have the foam core board. We don't have the extra stand. We're like, well, we couldn't afford to buy another stand. It's not Christmas time yet. Nobody bought us new photo gear. All right, we're going to drop that down. Drop that down. So we didn't have another light stand. We're like, okay, well, we're done that stuff. Well, how can we shoot this and still get a pretty nice exposure? We don't want it lit one side. That would be kind of silly, all the lighting on the one side. So we're going to take our light, and this is going to be a little bit harder for you folks to see at home, but you'll see the final result of the picture. We're going to take this light, and we're going to put it towards the front. We're going to lift it. Put it more towards the front here, so I can fit in here somewhere. We're going to lift this some more just to get it out of my way. And now I'm going to take a light reading. So I'm getting another light meter reading here. And we'll get this reading. Now it's showing me a 7.1 at, so an aperture of 7.1. And you see what happened is the power remained the same on that flash. But what happened was I raised it up so the light source is more away from the subject. So it's going to take a wider open aperture to get that shot. It's all relativity. Relativity is all it is. It's all relative to the other part of it. Let's go ahead and take this shot with this light up here and see what we get. Okay. And there you go. So now that light's coming in from the top. It's very well lit. It's a beautifully lit picture. We do have the spill on the back, but it is what it is. But remember, folks, you only have one flash, one umbrella. You got yourself a set of triggers. Look what you just did. Remarkable, remarkable picture. Now I'm saying, well, yeah, but you look at it, you say, well, now it could be a little too bright. So does anybody know? Anybody in the chat room know? Yep, that's exactly right, chat room. You would take the aperture, and you would just take the aperture and close it down a little bit. So closing it down is a larger number. Let's go to F9 and shoot that same picture and see if we can't close this down a little bit, make this a little darker. Now let's take a look at that. And there you go. We darkened it down just by closing down the aperture a little bit. Is how we darkened that down. Again, it's very pleasing picture. There is a little fall off on the shadow on the bottom, and I would probably Photoshop that out just to clean that up. Sometimes when you're using one light like this and you're shooting that one light down on your subject, if you have a model sitting here, or you do have a chance of getting some shadows, so be very, very cautious with that. Let me show you one other way you can use this single umbrella. We're going to shoot into it now and change the dynamics of light, but put more light around that actual flower. Again, the beauty of this whole shoot today is we're shooting with a $150 lens. It's a 50 millimeter fixed lens. Now remember, fixed and prime lenses, you can't zoom, but you can move your feet. You can move your feet in, you can move your feet back and take those pictures. So it's very, very important. Here is a shoot through scenario. Let's turn our umbrella around. Again, it might be a little hard for you folks to see this at home. We are going to point this down at our subject right here. And now what you're doing with this umbrella open up is you're cascading the light down over, okay? So it's just like the rain coming down around the light. We will get another meter reading because I like to get the meter readings here. And let's take a reading to see what we get. Try to hold the camera here. Now we're getting a 5.0. Wow. Really? A 5.0. Before we had a 7.1 when we shot through it. Why on earth would we have a 5.0? Makes no sense. Because we're sending that light in a bigger area. We're shooting it in. So the power is going into the umbrella, and it's getting pushed back out over the subject. If that makes sense. So we're losing powers. When you go straight through an umbrella, you got bam, you got some solid power coming through there. But this way, you have the light dispersing into the umbrella and coming back out. So we're going to shoot a 5.0. So again, we're opening our aperture up. We're making that aperture bigger, saying, hey, we want more light to come in the aperture. Let's take a shot and see what kind of shot we get this way with this umbrella pointing down on this subject. Here we go. And there you go. Now you can see how beautiful it lit up though. It lit up the back of it, lit up the front of it. It lit that whole entire flower very, very perfect. It's even lighting. I like this lighting. We use this lighting a lot when we do portrait sessions. Now I have a much bigger umbrella, and if you have a bigger umbrella, you tend to get less shadows because you're pushing more light all over the place. But usually when I use the bigger umbrella, a lot of times I will throw studio light in there, a studio strobe, because it's more power. But the speed lights will work. Don't get me wrong, they will work. What we're going to do now, before I close this shooting session out, is we are going to take our aperture. We're going to close it down because it's a little bright. Let's close it down to 5.6 and see what we get. There's 5.6 right there. And that looks pretty pleasing. Let's go down to 6.3 and take a look. We should see it be really getting darker. 6.3. And there you go. Still very pleasing shot. Not a bad shot at all. So that is the way we use an umbrella. That is a way that you can use your wireless triggers. And folks, practice on small objects. All right. You know, I tend to do that a lot. And I also tend to do a lot of self-portraits. And the reason is we are our best subject. Sometimes I'll sit up here for hours and just take pictures of myself. The reason is I don't complain. I don't take very many bathroom breaks. I don't have to go get something to eat. I don't have to worry about my makeup or my face, right? It's great to have live models. It's great when I get my wife in here to do a photo shoot. It's great when I get my daughter in here. We've had our neighbors come over to do photo shoots. But in reality, if you're practicing with lighting and you're moving things around and you're looking at poses, use yourself. If you really want to learn lighting and how light affects an object, use something small. This is one of my best known photography friends for years, and it's this guy, the little gnome guy, right? He's been a really good friend of mine for years, and let's bring his camera back up. So, the little gnome guy, he's been a really good friend of mine, and we've had a lot of photo sessions together. You need something small because I can show you how light is directed on his nose, on his eye. It's really small. If I can light this properly, I can light a human being pretty easy. I mean, I don't have much trouble with that at all anymore. So it's a way to learn, that's for sure. It's a way to learn, and that's the biggest thing. Next thing you want to do is make sure you shut off all your equipment. One time we put our wireless triggers in our bag, and the wireless triggers were on, and then we had to buy new batteries, which they take as little round batteries, so they're kind of expensive in their own right, I guess. All right, so we're going to come back here to my little humble computer, and we're going to bring my show notes back up right here. Okay. And that's it. So, and we shot everything thither today, if I didn't tell you, into Lightroom. That's where everything went into. It went into Lightroom. That's right, MC. Learning one show at a time. That's all we can do. All right. Let me bring this back up here. Okay. So, folks, I want to thank you very much for joining me here today for this show. If you're downloading this show on iTunes and you're saying, wow, he said a lot of stuff, he showed a lot of stuff. I did. I had a lot of going on today. A live shoot is a live shoot. I try to explain every step of the way for you if you're listening in. But the best way to see it is go over to YouTube. And the YouTube channel is 42, the number 4, the number 2, Technoman. Go over there and you can watch this video and see every step of the way that I showed in setting the lighting up and how we got these pictures. You're even get to see the pictures as they're coming off live off the camera. So also, if you remember, if you have any questions, please email me. Please pick up the phone and call me at 724-701-0911. I'd love to get your phone calls in there. You can also email me at jackstechcorner@gmail.com. Don't forget the free white paper, 7 Tips to Better Photography. And that is at thephotographyguy.net, where you still would want to sign up for VIP membership, a very important photographer. I want to get that out there to you because there's a ton of videos just like this. There's no commercials and they're great videos. So sign up for that. It's very inexpensive, and I'm sure you'll be happy that you did. I'll see you here next week on Sunday morning again for another live show. And that show will be at thephotographyguy.net/live-show. So if you just go to thephotographyguy.net, there's a live show link at the top. Click on that link, and you will be good to go. That'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So folks, until next week, take care. Have a great work week. Until then, keep those shutters clicking. Keep your editors editing. And I'll see you back here then. Bye for now. Thanks for tuning in to The Photography Guy. I am your photography guy, and I'll be here once again next time for more photography tips and tricks. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the show and enjoy the music.